Across the galaxy, there exists a classification system that every civilized species understands. It measures the lethality of worlds, the danger they pose to life itself. Level 1 worlds are paradise, gentle gravity, perfect atmosphere, abundant resources. Level 3 worlds require some caution. Level 5 worlds demand respect and preparation. No known civilization has ever evolved on anything above level 6. For 300 cycles, the Galactic Council had classified Earth as level 2, a backwater mud ball inhabited by primitive bipeds who couldn't even achieve faster-than-light travel. These humans were the subject of anthropological curiosity at best, cosmic comedy at worst. Their requests to join the Council were filed under amusing primitive attempts at communication. Then, the Zephyrian Empire made a mistake. They tried to harvest Earth's resources while the humans were still on it. What happened next forced the Council to conduct an emergency reclassification. When the data came back, the entire Galactic Assembly fell silent. The readings had to be wrong. They ran the tests again. And again. Earth wasn't level 2. It had never been level 2. The world that had produced humanity. These allegedly weak, primitive creatures who couldn't even get along with their own species, registered as a level 8 Hellworld. A rating so extreme that most Council members had never seen it before. A rating that meant the planet itself was actively trying to kill everything that lived on it. And somehow, impossibly, these humans had not just survived on this death world, they had thrived. They had conquered it. They had made it their home and spread across its entire surface, adapting to every lethal environment it could throw at them. The Council was about to learn that when you grow up wrestling with a planet that wants you dead, the rest of the galaxy becomes manageable. The humans were coming to the stars, and they were bringing their homeworld mentality with them. The Galactic Council chamber hummed with polite chatter as delegates from across the spiral arm gathered for their monthly session. Ambassador Keth Var of the Altarian Republic adjusted his ceremonial robes and checked his notes one final time. Today's agenda was mercifully light: trade disputes, mining rights negotiations, and one item that never failed to bring levity to these otherwise tedious proceedings. Item 47, announced Speaker Veltar, her crystalline voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Petition for Council membership from species designation. Human, planet of origin. Sol 3, commonly known as Earth. A ripple of amused chittering swept through the assembly. Several delegates had already pulled up holographic displays showing images of the petitioning species. Bipedal mammals with bizarrely sparse fur covering, standing upright on just 2 legs like some sort of evolutionary mistake. Ambassador Zixoth of the Confederation leaned over to Keth Var, his breathing apparatus wheezing softly. Are we really still entertaining these requests? How many cycles has it been now? 312, Keth Var replied, consulting his datapad. They send the same message every cycle, translated into what they optimistically call diplomatic language. Their latest attempt includes something called nuclear deterrent capabilities as a qualification for membership. The chamber erupted in genuine laughter. Nuclear weapons, the hallmark of primitive civilizations still trapped in their own gravity wells. Every species went through that phase, usually right before they either achieved true interstellar capability or obliterated themselves. The fact that humans were advertising their nuclear arsenal as a strength was particularly endearing. Perhaps we should respond this time, suggested Delegate Mordesh from the hegemony. Her 4 arms gestured gracefully as she spoke. It might be amusing to see how they react to actual galactic technology. We could send them a basic replicator, perhaps, or a gravity manipulator. Oh, please no, interjected Ambassador Yilneth, representing the Trade Coalition. Remember what happened when we gave the Zephyrians early access to our technology? They spent 2 centuries thinking they were the dominant military power in the sector. Speaker Veltar's attention turned to a side display where new information was scrolling past. Interesting. The humans' latest petition includes detailed scans of their homeworld. They're requesting that we acknowledge their unique planetary experience as qualification for membership. More laughter echoed through the chamber. Every species thought their homeworld was special. The Alterians had faced ice ages. The hegemony had survived periodic volcanic epochs. And the Confederation had evolved on a world with irregular solar cycles. These experiences had made them strong, adaptable, worthy of joining the galactic community. "What's their planetary classification again?" asked Kethvar, genuinely curious now. "Let me check the survey data." Speaker Veltar's fingers danced across her control interface. "According to our initial scans from 3 centuries ago. Level 2. Moderate gravity, stable atmosphere, abundant water. Quite pleasant, actually. Perhaps a bit warm in places, but overall rather hospitable. Level 2. Delegata mordisch sondet surpreist. That explains their soft appearance. Level 2 worlds produce some of the most pampered species in the galaxy. No wonder they think nuclear weapons are impressive. They've never faced real adversity." The chamber's attention was drifting toward other matters when a priority alert chimed through the communication system. An urgent message from the Zephyrian Empire, marked for immediate council attention. "This is unusual," Speaker Veltar frowned, her crystalline features reflecting the amber light of the emergency signal. "The Zephyrians aren't scheduled to report for another cycle." The main display activated, revealing the imposing figure of war leader Thakmor, supreme commander of the Zephyrian military forces. His scaled features were rigid with barely contained fury, and the ceremonial battle scars on his forehead seemed to pulse with agitation. "Esteemed Council," Thakmor's voice carried the unmistakable edge of someone delivering very bad news. "I'm transmitting an urgent request for military assistance. Our harvesting fleet has encountered unexpected resistance in the Sol system." The chamber fell silent. Harvesting operations were routine. Established civilizations had long since moved beyond the need for planetary resources, leaving countless worlds ripe for extraction. The Zephyrians specialized in identifying uninhabited or primitively inhabited worlds and stripping them of useful materials. It was perfectly legal under galactic law, provided the indigenous species lacked interstellar capability. Resistance. Speaker Veltar's confusion was evident. "War leader, our records indicate Sol. 3 houses only a pre-interstellar species. What manner of resistance could they possibly offer to a Zephyrian harvesting fleet?" Thakmor's expression darkened further. "That is difficult to explain. Perhaps it would be better to show you." The display shifted to a tactical readout of the Sol system. Icons representing Zephyrian vessels dotted the space around the 3rd planet, but something was wrong with the formation. Instead of the orderly arrangement typical of a harvesting operation, the ships appeared scattered, many showing damage indicators. "Our initial approach was textbook," Thakmor began, his military bearing evident despite his obvious frustration. "We deployed standard intimidation protocols, a show of force designed to encourage the primitives to evacuate targeted resource zones. The inhabitants of Sol, 3 responded with what appeared to be nuclear missiles." Another wave of amusement passed through the chamber. Nuclear missiles against military vessels equipped with energy shields and point defense systems was like throwing rocks at a fortress. "We naturally assumed this was their complete military capability," Thakmor continued. "Our shields absorbed the nuclear detonations without strain. We proceeded with landing operations to begin resource extraction." The tactical display zoomed in on Earth's surface, showing landing zones scattered across several continents. What should have been simple extraction sites were marked with conflict indicators. The first teams reported minimal resistance initially. The humans seemed to retreat in the face of our superior weaponry. We established extraction zones in areas with high mineral concentrations, mountain ranges, desert regions, Arctic zones. Standard protocol. Delegate Mordesh leaned forward, intrigued despite herself. "What changed?" "The humans," Thakmor's voice carried a note of genuine bewilderment, "did not behave as expected. Instead of surrendering or attempting to negotiate, they adapted. The display shifted to show ground-level footage from Zephyrian combat drones. The images were chaotic, difficult to parse, but they clearly showed human forces engaging with Zephyrian ground units. What was disturbing wasn't the fact that they were fighting. Primitive species often showed courage in the face of overwhelming odds. What was disturbing was that they appeared to be winning. How is this possible? Ambassador Zixoth wheezed. Humans use chemical propellants and metal projectiles. Your forces have energy weapons and powered armor. That, Thakmor replied grimly, is what we thought as well. We discovered several critical errors in our intelligence. The footage showed human soldiers moving through what appeared to be a frozen wasteland. They wore primitive insulation suits and carried chemical fuel weapons, yet they moved with a fluidity and coordination that seemed almost impossible. When Zephyrian forces engaged them, the humans didn't retreat to defensible positions. They scattered into the terrain itself, becoming nearly invisible among the ice and snow. These recordings are from our Arctic extraction site, Thakmor explained. We initially dismissed this region as minimally defended due to its hostile environment. Temperatures averaging 30 degrees below freezing, frequent storms, limited visibility. Hostile. Kethvar consulted his datapad. War leader, our environmental data indicates that Earth's polar regions are well within normal parameters for most species. 30 below is merely brisk. That, Thakmor said with growing frustration, is what we assumed. We were wrong. For humans, that environment is not hostile. It is home. They have settlements in regions we classified as uninhabitable. They train their military forces in conditions that would kill most of our soldiers within hours. The footage shifted to show different terrain, a scorching desert where the air itself seemed to shimmer with heat. Again, human forces were engaged in combat with Zephyrian units, and again, the humans seemed perfectly adapted to conditions that should have been debilitating. This is from our equatorial extraction zone. Surface temperatures exceeding 50 degrees, minimal water sources, sandstorms that can strip flesh from bone. We expected token resistance at best. Instead, we found organized military units that had apparently been training in these conditions for decades. Speaker Veltar was beginning to look concerned. War leader, are you suggesting that humans are naturally adapted to extreme environments? I am suggesting, Thakmor replied with careful emphasis, that our classification of their homeworld may have been incomplete. The chamber stirred uneasily. Planetary classification was a precise science, developed over millennia of exploration and contact with hundreds of species. Level ratings were based on extensive environmental analysis, geological surveys, and atmospheric composition studies. Errors were virtually impossible. Expen, spöker Veltar commanded. The tactical display returned to a global view of Earth, but now additional data was overlaying the planet's surface. Temperature readings, geological activity, atmospheric composition, all the factors that went into planetary classification. We began this operation assuming we were dealing with a Level 2 world, Thakmor continued. Stable, hospitable, producing a soft species with limited adaptability. Our first indication that something was wrong came when we analyzed the human settlements. The display zoomed in on various locations around the planet. Instead of the clustered, protected colonies typical of Level 2 civilizations, human settlements were scattered across virtually every available surface. Cities sprawled across fault lines, coastal regions prone to massive storms, areas with active volcanic activity. They don't just live in the safe zones, Thakmor said with growing amazement. They live everywhere, in regions that should be uninhabitable. And not just survive, they thrive. Footage appeared showing human cities built directly on the slopes of active volcanoes, coastal settlements that regularly endured massive storm systems, population centers situated in areas prone to severe seismic activity. We found settlements in deserts where the temperature variation exceeds 60 degrees between day and night. Cities built on islands that are regularly struck by massive rotating storm systems. population centers that experience regular seismic events that would level our own architecture. The chamber was now completely silent, all attention focused on the increasingly disturbing revelations. But the most confusing discovery, Thakmore continued, was their reaction to our presence. When faced with superior technology and overwhelming force, they did not behave like inhabitants of a Level 2 world. They behaved like— He paused, as if struggling to find the right words. Like what, war leader? Speaker Veltar prompted. Like inhabitants of a hell world, Thakmore said quietly. They showed no fear of our weapons, no surprise at our technology. They adapted to our tactics within hours. They used their own environment as a weapon against us. The display shifted to show more combat footage. Human forces were using terrain features that the Zephyrians hadn't even considered. Avalanche zones, unstable ground, areas prone to flash flooding. What the invaders had seen as obstacles, the humans used as tactical advantages. In the mountain regions, they caused deliberate landslides to bury our equipment. In coastal areas, they somehow predicted and exploited tidal patterns to flood our landing zones. In the forests, they used naturally occurring toxins from local flora to contaminate our air supplies. Ambassador Yilneth spoke up, her voice uncertain. War leader, are you requesting military assistance against a pre-interstellar species? The question hung in the air like an accusation. The idea of a galactic military power requiring assistance against primitives was nearly unthinkable. I am requesting, Thakmore said with wounded pride, an emergency reclassification of Sol 3. Our harvesting operation was planned based on faulty intelligence about the planet and its inhabitants. Reclassification. Speaker Veltar's crystalline features reflected her confusion. War leader, planetary classifications are based on objective scientific analysis. They don't change. Then, perhaps, Thakmore replied grimly, our scientific analysis was inadequate. I am transmitting our complete environmental data from the past 48 hours. I believe you will find it illuminating. The main display filled with a cascade of data, atmospheric readings, geological surveys, biological analysis, environmental hazard assessments. The numbers painted a picture that was gradually becoming clear to the assembled delegates. Earth wasn't level 2. It never had been. As the horrifying truth began to dawn on the Galactic Council, War Leader Thakmore delivered his final report. Esteemed Council, I formally request immediate military support for our forces in the Sol system. We are not facing primitives. We are facing the evolved inhabitants of a world that has spent millions of years trying to kill everything that lives on it. And somehow impossibly they won. The chamber fell into stunned silence as delegates began to comprehend the magnitude of their error. Humanity wasn't a joke. They were the survivors of something that shouldn't have been possible. And they were about to join the galactic community whether the Council invited them or not. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of War Leader Thakmore's transmission. The Grand Chamber, usually a place of dignified debate and careful deliberation, now buzzed with urgent conversations and barely contained panic. For the first time in recorded galactic history, a pre-interstellar species had not only resisted a harvesting operation, but had apparently forced a retreat. Chief Science Officer N.A.L. Beth of the Research Consortium stood at the central podium, her tentacles weaving nervous patterns as she prepared to deliver findings that would shatter 3 centuries of comfortable assumptions. The data tablets in her grasp contained the results of an emergency reclassification study, a comprehensive analysis of Earth that should have been conducted long ago. Esteemed delegates, N.A.L. Beth began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. I must begin with an apology. The Research Consortium bears responsibility for what can only be described as the most catastrophic misclassification in our recorded history. Speaker Veltar gestured for silence as murmurs spread through the assembly. Chief Science Officer, please present your findings. The main display activated, showing a familiar blue-green world rotating slowly against the backdrop of space. But now, instead of the peaceful Level 2 designation that had marked Earth for centuries, new data streams cascaded alongside the image. Our original classification of Sol 3 was conducted via long-range scanner analysis, and Beth continued. Standard procedure for preliminary surveys involves atmospheric composition, gravitational readings, surface temperature averages, and biological activity indicators. Based on these readings, Earth appeared to be a stable, hospitable world well within normal parameters for life-bearing planets. Ambassador Kethvar leaned forward in his seat. What went wrong with the analysis? Nothing went wrong with the analysis itself, and Beth replied grimly. The error was in our assumptions about what the data meant. We measured average conditions and concluded the planet was benign. We failed to measure the extremes. The display shifted to show a detailed breakdown of Earth's environmental conditions. Temperature readings that had seemed reasonable when averaged across the planet now revealed a horrifying truth when examined in detail. Earth's surface temperature ranges from minus 89 degrees to plus 71 degrees, and Beth announced. The temperature variation on this single world exceeds the habitable range of most species in the galaxy. Delegate Mordesh's forearms gestured in disbelief. That's impossible. No species could survive such extremes. That is what we thought, and Beth agreed. We were wrong. Humans have not only survived these conditions, they have established permanent settlements across the entire range. We have confirmed active human populations in regions where the temperature never rises above freezing, and others where it regularly exceeds 50 degrees. The display showed images of human settlements scattered across Earth's surface. Ice-covered research stations in Antarctica, where humans lived and worked in conditions that would quickly kill most galactic species. Desert cities in places like Death Valley and the Sahara, where the combination of heat and aridity should have been instantly lethal. But temperature is only the beginning, and Beth continued, her tentacles now weaving patterns of deep distress. Earth's geological activity places it firmly in the category of a dynamic hellworld. New data appeared on the display: seismic readings, volcanic activity maps, tectonic plate movements. The planet was alive with geological violence that dwarfed anything most council members had ever seen. The planet experiences approximately 50,000 seismic events daily, and Beth announced. Most are minor, but significant earthquakes capable of leveling cities occur regularly. The humans have adapted by developing construction techniques that allow their buildings to flex and sway rather than collapse. Ambassador Zixoth's breathing apparatus wheezed more rapidly. 50,000 earthquakes per day? How do they function? They consider it normal, and Beth replied. Our sociological analysis indicates that humans have developed cultural concepts around geological instability. They have sayings like solid as a rock to indicate something reliable, apparently not recognizing the irony that their rocks are constantly moving. The display shifted to show volcanic activity across the planet. Instead of the isolated, contained geological events typical of stable worlds, Earth showed a ring of active volcanoes circling entire continents. Current active volcanoes, approximately 1,500. Major eruptions occur monthly, with super eruptions capable of global climate disruption recurring every few 100,000 years. The humans are aware of this pattern and have simply accepted it as part of their existence. Accepted it. Speaker Veltar's voice carried notes of disbelief. How does one accept the possibility of planetary extinction events? By thriving anyway, Beth replied. Human settlements exist within kilometers of active volcanic zones. They have developed early warning systems and evacuation procedures, but they do not relocate permanently. They return and rebuild after each eruption. The chamber fell silent as delegates struggled to process this information. The concept of deliberately living in areas prone to catastrophic destruction was beyond the experience of most civilized species. The atmospheric conditions are equally extreme, and Beth continued. Earth's weather systems generate phenomena that exceed the parameters of habitability for most known species. Images appeared showing massive storm systems that dwarfed anything in the galactic database. Hurricane formations with wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour, tornado systems capable of leveling entire cities, blizzards that could bury settlements under meters of frozen precipitation. These storm systems occur regularly throughout the planet's annual cycle, N.A.L. Beth explained. Humans have adapted by developing predictive meteorology and construction techniques designed to withstand these events. They do not seek to avoid the storms. They prepare for them. New footage appeared from the Zephyrian operation, showing human forces operating in the middle of what appeared to be a significant storm. Snow was falling so heavily that visibility was reduced to meters, while winds that should have made movement impossible seemed to barely affect the human soldiers. This footage was recorded during what humans classify as moderate winter weather, N.A.L. Beth noted. The Zephyrian forces required environmental suits to operate in these conditions. The humans considered it a normal day. Ambassador Yilneth spoke up, her voice uncertain. Are you suggesting that humans are physiologically superior to our species? Not superior, N.A.L. Beth corrected. Adapted. Humans have spent their entire evolutionary history dealing with environmental challenges that would eliminate most species. They have developed physical and mental adaptations that allow them to function in conditions we would classify as immediately lethal. The display showed comparative physiological data. Human endurance capabilities, temperature tolerance, ability to function with limited resources, resistance to environmental toxins, all fell well outside the normal range for intelligent species. Humans can survive without water for several days, without food for weeks, in temperatures that would incapacitate most species within hours. They can function at altitudes where the atmospheric pressure is insufficient to support life for most galactic species. They have voluntary control over their pain responses and can continue functioning despite injuries that would debilitate others. But most concerning, N.A.L. Beth continued, is their psychological adaptation to extreme environments. Humans do not merely tolerate hostile conditions. They actively seek them out for recreation. New images appeared showing humans engaged in activities that defied comprehension. Mountain climbing in conditions that approached the threshold of space. Deep-sea exploration in crushing pressure environments. Extreme sports that deliberately place participants in life-threatening situations for entertainment. They call it adventure, N.A.L. Beth explained. Humans regularly expose themselves to potentially lethal environments as a form of leisure activity. They climb mountains during storm seasons, swim in waters with dangerous predators, jump from aircraft for recreation. Delegate Mordesh's arms weaved in agitation. That's not adaptation, that's madness. Is it? N.A.L. Beth challenged. Or is it the logical result of evolution on a world where everything is potentially lethal? Humans have developed psychological mechanisms that allow them to assess and manage extreme risk as a matter of routine. What we see as terrifying, they see as Tuesday. The display returned to the tactical readout from the Zephyrian operation. The scattered positions of the harvesting fleet now told a different story. Not the result of unexpected resistance, but the inevitable outcome of underestimating an opponent adapted to constant environmental warfare. The Zephyrian forces approached Sol, 3 expecting to face a soft species from a peaceful world, N.A.L. Beth summarized. Instead, they encountered a species that has spent millions of years in combat training against a planet that actively attempts to kill them daily. War leader Thakmor appeared on a secondary display, his scaled features grim, but no longer showing the confusion that had marked his earlier reports. Chief Science Officer N.A.L. Beth is correct. We now understand that our tactical assumptions were fundamentally flawed. Explain, War Leader, Speaker Veltar requested. We based our strategy on standard protocols for primitive species, Thakmor replied. Overwhelming technological superiority, intimidation through superior firepower, assumption that the inhabitants would recognize our advantage and surrender or retreat. That strategy has been effective for centuries, Ambassador HFY pointed out. Against species from normal worlds, Thakmor agreed. Humans do not respond to intimidation the way other species do. They see superior technology as a puzzle to solve, overwhelming odds as motivation to fight harder, and environmental challenges as advantages to exploit. The tactical display zoomed in on specific battle sites, showing the aftermath of engagements between human and Zephyrian forces. What should have been one-sided conflicts had become complex tactical scenarios. In every engagement, humans demonstrated capabilities we had not anticipated, Thakmor continued. They moved through terrain we considered impassable. They operated effectively in environmental conditions that degraded our equipment performance. They used their knowledge of local conditions to negate our technological advantages. Examples appeared on the display. Zephyrian vehicles bogged down in terrain that humans traversed easily on foot, advanced sensors disrupted by environmental conditions that humans navigated by intuition, energy weapons less effective in atmospheric conditions that humans had adapted to exploit. Most significantly, Thakmor added, they showed no fear of our weapons. Species from normal worlds are intimidated by energy weapons, powered armor, aircraft. Humans treated our technology as simply another environmental challenge to overcome. Chief Science Officer Nalbeth returned to the podium. War Leader Thakmor's observations align with our revised planetary analysis. We must now formally reclassify Sol 3 based on accurate environmental data. The display showed the final, terrifying calculation. Environmental extremes, geological instability, atmospheric violence, biological diversity that included multiple apex predators, all factors that contributed to a planetary rating that defied previous understanding. Sol 3 achieves a planetary classification of Level 8, Nalbeth announced, a rating indicating a hellworld of extreme lethality, where survival requires constant adaptation to multiple existential threats. The chamber erupted in shocked silence. Level 8 classifications were theoretical constructs used to describe planets so hostile that life should not be able to evolve to intelligence. The highest-rated homeworld in the Council was Level 6, and even that was considered remarkable for producing spacefaring civilization. Level 8 is impossible, Ambassador Zixoth wheezed. No species could achieve intelligence under such conditions. No known species, Nalbeth corrected. Until now, humans represent the first confirmed case of intelligent life evolving on a Level 8 world. They are, quite literally, unprecedented in galactic history. Speaker Veltar stood, her crystalline form reflecting the amber warning lights that had begun flashing throughout the chamber. Chief Science Officer, what are the implications of this reclassification? Immediate and profound, Nalbeth replied. All previous assumptions about human capabilities, psychology, and intentions must be discarded. We're not dealing with a primitive species from a peaceful world. We are dealing with the survivors of evolutionary conditions so extreme that their very existence challenges our understanding of what life can accomplish. The weight of this revelation settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. For 3 centuries, the Galactic Council had dismissed humanity as an amusing curiosity. Now they faced the terrifying truth that they had been ignoring the most dangerous species in known space. War Leader Thakmor's voice cut through the stunned silence. Esteemed Council, I renew my request for immediate military assistance. But I now believe the question is not whether we can defeat the humans. He paused, allowing his words to carry full weight. The question is whether we should try. The implications of that statement would reshape galactic civilization forever. The emergency session had stretched into its 18th hour when the first human transmission reached the Galactic Council chamber. Speaker Veltar had called a brief recess to allow delegates to process the horrifying implications of Earth's reclassification. But the appearance of an incoming signal from Sol 3 sent everyone scrambling back to their positions. This is unexpected, Ambassador HFY muttered, adjusting his ceremonial robes as he settled into his seat. Humans have never initiated contact before. Chief Communications Officer Qindao, an insectoid being whose compound eyes reflected the amber glow of his control displays, worked frantically to establish a connection. The signal is remarkably sophisticated, he reported. They're broadcasting on standard galactic frequencies using proper diplomatic protocols. How is that possible? Delegate Mordesh asked. Our intelligence indicates they barely understand basic physics. War leader Thakmore's image appeared on a side display, his expression grim. That intelligence may also need revision. In the past 48 hours, human forces have demonstrated capabilities that contradict most of our assumptions about their technological level. The main display cleared as the transmission stabilized. The image that appeared caused a stir of confusion throughout the chamber. Instead of the primitive communication setup they expected, the humans had established what appeared to be a professional diplomatic broadcast station. The background showed sophisticated equipment and multiple personnel working with obvious competence. A human figure stepped into frame, middle-aged by their species standards, wearing what appeared to be formal diplomatic attire. Her posture conveyed confidence without aggression, and her eyes held an intelligence that immediately commanded attention. Greetings to the Galactic Council, the human began, speaking in perfectly accented galactic standard. I am Secretary General Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth Government. I am authorized to speak on behalf of all human nations in matters of interstellar diplomacy. The chamber fell silent. Not only were humans capable of sophisticated communication, but they had apparently unified their entire planet for the purpose of galactic contact. Most species required centuries of council guidance to achieve such coordination. We understand that recent events have created some confusion regarding Earth's status and humanity's capabilities, Rodriguez continued. We felt it was time for direct communication to address any misunderstandings. Speaker Veltar activated her response system. Secretary General Rodriguez, this is Speaker Veltar of the Galactic Council. We acknowledge your transmission and welcome this opportunity for dialogue. Rodriguez smiled, an expression that seemed both diplomatic and slightly predatory. Thank you, Speaker Veltar. Before we proceed, I want to address the situation involving the Zephyrian harvesting fleet currently operating in our system. War leader Thakmore's image shifted to full display alongside Rodriguez. Secretary General, I am War leader Thakmore, commanding the operation in question. I hope we can resolve this situation peacefully. As do we, War leader, Rodriguez replied. However, I must inform you that your forces are currently in violation of Earth's sovereignty. We are prepared to discuss terms for their withdrawal. A ripple of shock passed through the council chamber. Primitives didn't negotiate terms with galactic military forces. They surrendered or were conquered. Thakmore's scaled features showed carefully controlled anger. Secretary General, perhaps you misunderstand the situation. Your planet lacks the technological capability to enforce demands against a galactic military force. Rodriguez's smile widened slightly. War leader, perhaps you misunderstand our situation. May I share some recent developments with the Council? Without waiting for permission, she gestured to someone off-screen. The transmission split to show multiple feeds from around Earth's solar system. The images revealed activities that sent ice through the veins of every watching delegate. Human spacecraft, clearly built with technology that shouldn't exist, were moving through the outer system with purpose and coordination. The designs were unlike anything in galactic databases, but their capabilities were unmistakable. Energy signatures, propulsion systems, weapons arrays, all functional and sophisticated. These vessels represent Earth's first contact fleet, Rodriguez explained calmly. We completed their construction approximately 6 hours ago. 6 hours? Chief Science Officer Nal Beth's tentacles writhed in disbelief. Interstellar vessels require years to construct, even with advanced technology. Under normal circumstances, Rodriguez agreed. However, humanity has been preparing for this moment for some time. We've had contingency plans in place since we first detected galactic civilization. Ambassador Zixotha's breathing apparatus wheezed rapidly. How long have you known about us? We've been monitoring your communications for approximately 2 centuries, Rodriguez replied matter-of-factly. Your standard broadcasts are quite easy to intercept and decode once you understand the basic principles involved. The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. Humans have been aware of galactic civilization for 200 years and had never revealed themselves. They had listened, learned, and prepared while the Council dismissed them as primitives. Impossible de regarder maldage protested. Pre-interstellar species lack the technology for interception of galactic communications. Rodriguez's expression became slightly amused. Delegate Mordesh, I believe you're operating under some misconceptions about human capabilities. May I demonstrate? The display shifted to show a comprehensive breakdown of galactic civilization as humans understood it. Trade routes, military capabilities, political alliances, technological levels, all mapped with startling accuracy. We've been conducting sociological and anthropological studies of galactic civilization since we achieved the ability to monitor your communications, Rodriguez continued. We understand your political structures, economic systems, military capabilities, and cultural values. We've been preparing for eventual contact based on detailed analysis of galactic society. Preparing how? Speaker Veltar asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. Initially, we assumed we would be welcomed as equals once we achieved interstellar capability, Rodriguez explained. However, our analysis of galactic contact protocols indicated that new species are typically subjected to centuries of gradual introduction and technological limitation. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. We also discovered that galactic civilization operates on the assumption that inhabitable worlds produce weak species requiring guidance and protection. This assumption underlies your entire first contact protocol. War leader Thakmore leaned forward. Are you suggesting our protocols are flawed? I'm suggesting they're based on limited experience, Rodriguez replied diplomatically. Galactic civilization has never encountered a species evolved under extreme survival pressure. Your first contact procedures are designed for species that need help adapting to galactic society. And humanity doesn't. Ambassador Kethvar asked. Rodriguez's smile took on a distinctly predatory quality. War leader Thakmore can address that question better than I can. His forces have had 48 hours to evaluate human adaptability. Thakmore's expression grew even grimmer. The humans have demonstrated combat capabilities that exceed our tactical parameters. They adapt to new situations faster than our response protocols can accommodate. Could you elaborate for the Council? Rodriguez requested with false sweetness. Thakmore's reluctance was evident, but he began his report. Human forces have neutralized 17% of our ground units using primitive weaponry enhanced with improvised technological adaptations. They appear to have reverse-engineered our energy shields and found ways to overcome them using locally available materials. Reverse-engineered? Chief Science Officer N.A.L. Beth's tentacles twisted in distress. In 48 hours? Less than that, Thakmore admitted. First battlefield adaptations appeared within 6 hours of initial contact. Complete countermeasures were deployed within 24 hours. Rodriguez nodded approvingly. Humans excel at rapid technological adaptation when properly motivated. We find that immediate survival threats tend to accelerate our innovation processes significantly. Innovation processes? Speokir Veltor asked. War leader Thakmore's forces represented the first opportunity for hands-on analysis of galactic technology, Rodriguez explained. Until now, we've been limited to theoretical extrapolation based on communications intercepts. Direct access to functional galactic equipment has been quite educational. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Humans hadn't just resisted the Zephyrian forces. They'd used the contact as a learning experience. Of course, Rodriguez continued, this situation is unfortunate for several reasons. We had hoped first contact would occur under more diplomatic circumstances. What circumstances did you envision? Ambassador Yilneth asked. We had planned to request council membership through proper channels once we achieved interstellar capability, Rodriguez replied. We've been working toward that goal for the past century. Past century? Delegate Mordesh's 4 arms gestured in confusion. Our intelligence indicates humans only achieved powered flight recently. Rodriguez's expression became genuinely puzzled. I'm sorry, but your intelligence appears to be severely outdated. Humans achieved powered flight over a century ago. We've had orbital capability for decades and have maintained permanent space stations for years. Chief Communications Officer Cheendal frantically worked at his controls, accessing historical surveillance data, updating records. His compound eyes widened as new information flooded his displays. Council members, our monitoring systems have been tracking only the most obvious human activities. According to comprehensive analysis, human technological development has been proceeding far more rapidly than our reports indicated. How rapidly? Speokir Veltar demanded. Current human technology appears to be approximately equivalent to early galactic standard, Cheendal reported. In some areas, their approaches are novel and potentially superior to established galactic methods. Rodriguez nodded. We've had the benefit of observing galactic technology for 2 centuries while developing our own solutions. In some cases, we've found more efficient approaches than the standard galactic methods. More efficient? Chief Science Officer Nal Beth asked skeptically. May I demonstrate? Rodriguez gestured again, and the display shifted to show human spacecraft in greater detail. The designs were clearly functional, but they incorporated principles that weren't immediately recognizable to galactic observers. Human engineering operates under different constraints than galactic standard, Rodriguez explained. We've always had to build things that work in hostile environments with limited resources. Our technology tends to be more robust and adaptable than galactic equivalents. War leader Thakmore's voice carried a note of grudging respect. Human equipment continues to function in environmental conditions that disable our technology. Their weapons are crude but effective. Their vehicles are primitive but reliable. Their soldiers are. He paused, searching for the right words. Terrifying, he concluded. Rodriguez's diplomatic smile widened. Thank you, war leader. That brings us to the current situation. We understand that the Zephyrian Empire initiated harvesting operations under the assumption that Earth was uninhabited by spacefaring civilization. That assumption was reasonable based on available data, Thakmore defended. Absolutely, Rodriguez agreed. However, the situation has now changed. Earth is inhabited by a spacefaring civilization, which places your operation in violation of galactic law regarding harvesting of inhabited systems. Speokir Veltar leaned forward. Secretary General, are you threatening military action against the Zephyrian Empire? Not at all, Rodriguez replied calmly. We're simply clarifying the legal situation. Under galactic law, the Zephyrian forces must withdraw from our system immediately. And if they refuse? War leader Thakmore asked. Rodriguez's expression became very serious. War leader, we prefer diplomatic solutions. However, humanity has extensive experience dealing with hostile forces operating in our territory. We've developed quite effective methods for encouraging withdrawal. The transmission feed showed images of Zephyrian equipment that had been captured, modified, and turned against its original owners. Human forces had not just adapted to galactic technology, they had improved it. We've taken the liberty of upgrading some of your equipment, Rodriguez noted. Your energy weapons are now significantly more efficient. Your vehicles have been modified for better performance in Earth conditions. Your communication systems have been enhanced with improved encryption. Thakmore stared at the images in horror. You've been modifying our equipment? Studying it, Rodriguez corrected. The modifications are gifts, a gesture of goodwill. We thought your forces might appreciate the improvements. The true meaning was clear to everyone in the chamber. Humans had not only captured galactic technology, but had enhanced it beyond original specifications. They weren't just adapting, they were improving on designs that had taken galactic civilization millennia to perfect. Secretary General, Speaker Veltar, said carefully, "What exactly are humanity's intentions regarding galactic civilization?" Rodriguez's expression became genuinely warm for the first time in the transmission. "The same intentions we've had for 3 centuries, Speaker Veltar. We would like to apply for membership in the Galactic Council." "That's all?" Ambassador Kethvar asked suspiciously. "That's all," Rodriguez confirmed. "We've been watching galactic civilization for 200 years. We like what we see. We want to be part of it." She paused, and her diplomatic mask slipped slightly to reveal something much more dangerous underneath. "We're just not willing to spend centuries proving we're worthy of membership. We think recent events have demonstrated our qualifications adequately." The chamber fell silent as delegates absorbed the full implications of humanity's position. They weren't dealing with primitives seeking guidance. They were facing equals who had been patiently waiting for recognition, and who were perfectly capable of taking what they wanted if it wasn't freely given. The Galactic Council found itself in an unprecedented situation. For the first time in recorded history, a species was demanding immediate membership rather than petitioning for gradual acceptance. The implications rippled through diplomatic channels as delegates huddled in emergency consultations, while Secretary General Rodriguez waited patiently for their response. Admiral Vextar of the Council Defense Force had joined the session via secure transmission, her massive form filling a secondary display. As the Council's highest military authority, her assessment would carry significant weight in determining humanity's fate. "Secretary General Rodriguez," Admiral Vextar began, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to command. "While your species' achievements are remarkable, Council membership requires more than technological capability and military resistance." Rodriguez inclined her head respectfully. "Admiral, we understand that Council membership carries responsibilities beyond mere power. We've studied your civilization extensively and believe we can contribute meaningfully to galactic society." "Contribute how?" Speokir Veltor asked. "Council members are expected to participate in peacekeeping operations, disaster relief, scientific research, and cultural exchange. These responsibilities require species that can work cooperatively with others." "With respect, Speaker," Rodriguez replied, "you're describing exactly the kind of cooperation humanity excels at. Our planetary history is filled with examples of diverse groups working together to overcome impossible challenges." Chief Science Officer Nal Beth's tentacles weaved skeptical patterns. "Your planetary history also includes extensive warfare between human factions. How do we know you won't bring that instability to galactic civilization?" Rodriguez's expression became more serious. "Chief Science Officer, you're absolutely correct about our history of conflict. But you're misunderstanding what that history represents." The transmission shifted to show historical footage from Earth. Images of human cooperation during natural disasters, international collaboration on scientific projects, coordinated responses to global challenges. "Humans fight each other when we have no external challenges," Rodriguez explained. "But when faced with existential threats, we unite with remarkable efficiency. Climate change, asteroid impacts, pandemic diseases. Any crisis that threatens our species as a whole triggers immediate cooperation." "And you view galactic membership as such a crisis?" Ambassador Kethvar asked. "We view it as an opportunity," Rodriguez corrected, "but one that requires us to function as a unified species rather than competing nations, which we've already accomplished." War leader Thakmor's image shifted to prominence. "Secretary General, my forces have observed human military coordination that exceeds most galactic standards. How did your species achieve such unity?" Rodriguez smiled grimly. "War leader, when your planet spends millions of years trying to kill you, you learn that cooperation isn't optional, it's survival. Humans who couldn't work together died out long ago." Admiral Vextar leaned forward. "Impressive words, Secretary General. But the Council requires proof of commitment to galactic values. Are you prepared to undergo standard evaluation procedures?" What would those procedures involve? Rodriguez asked. Traditional evaluation includes technological assessment, cultural analysis, and demonstration of capability to assist other council members, Admiral Vextar explained. The process typically requires decades of observation and gradual integration. Rodriguez's expression became politely firm. Admiral, with respect, humanity doesn't have decades to spend proving our worth. We're ready to contribute now. The Council determines readiness, not applicant species. Delegate Mordesh interjected, her forearms gesturing with bureaucratic authority. Under normal circumstances, Rodriguez agreed. However, current circumstances are far from normal. May I suggest an alternative? Speaker Veltar gestured for her to continue. Earth's solar system is currently experiencing what you might call a diplomatic crisis, Rodriguez began. We have Zephyrian military forces operating illegally in our territory, demanding resources from our sovereign world. This situation requires resolution. War leader Thakmore's expression grew wary. What kind of resolution do you propose? A demonstration, Rodriguez replied. Let humanity prove our worthiness for council membership by resolving this crisis in a manner that satisfies galactic law and diplomatic precedent. You want to use our current situation as a membership test? Thakmore asked incredulously. I want to demonstrate that humanity can function as responsible members of galactic civilization, Rodriguez clarified. Give us 48 hours to resolve the situation through proper diplomatic channels. Admiral Vextar's massive form shifted on the display. And if you fail, then humanity withdraws its application for council membership and accepts whatever gradual integration process the council deems appropriate, Rodriguez replied. And if you succeed? Speaker Veltar asked. Rodriguez's smile returned, carrying hints of confidence that made several delegates uncomfortable. Then, the Council acknowledges humanity as ready for immediate membership with full privileges and responsibilities. The chamber erupted in urgent discussions. The proposal was unprecedented. No species had ever been allowed to design their own membership test. But the alternative was equally unprecedented, dealing with a species that clearly possessed the power to enforce their demands regardless of council approval. Chief Science Officer Nal Beth spoke up. Secretary General, this proposal assumes the Council has authority to grant immediate membership. Such decisions require extensive review and approval processes. Chief Science Officer Rodriguez replied patiently. Your review processes are designed for species that require guidance and gradual technological uplift. Humanity requires neither. We're asking for recognition of existing capability, not development of future potential. Ambassador Yil_F leaned forward. What guarantee do we have that humanity will accept council authority once admitted to membership? Rodriguez's expression became genuinely puzzled. The same guarantee any member species provides, commitment to galactic law and mutual cooperation. Why would we seek membership in an organization we intended to subvert? Because aggressive species often seek to dominate rather than cooperate. Admiral Vextar replied bluntly. Admiral, Rodriguez said with careful emphasis, if humanity intended to dominate galactic civilization, we wouldn't be requesting membership through diplomatic channels. We would simply take what we wanted. The implications of that statement settled over the chamber like a cold wind. Humans weren't asking for permission because they lacked the power to act unilaterally. They were asking because they preferred cooperation to conquest. War leader Thakmore spoke up reluctantly. Admiral, based on my observations of human capabilities, Secretary General Rodriguez is correct. If humanity intended aggressive expansion, they possess the technological and military capacity to achieve it. Explain, Admiral Vexunderstrictar commanded. Thakmore's scaled features showed deep discomfort. Human forces have demonstrated the ability to adapt and overcome galactic military technology within hours. Their industrial capacity appears capable of rapid military production. Their population shows unified commitment to species-wide objectives. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Most concerning, they show no fear of galactic civilization. They view our technology as interesting rather than intimidating, our military forces as challenges rather than threats. This psychological profile suggests a species confident in their ability to prevail in extended conflict. Speaker Veltar's crystalline features reflected her growing concern. Secretary General Rodriguez, are you suggesting humanity could defeat galactic civilization in open conflict? Rodriguez considered the question carefully. Speaker Veltar, that's not a question we want to explore. Humanity seeks cooperation, not conflict. But we also won't accept subordinate status based on outdated assumptions about our capabilities. What exactly are your capabilities? Chief Science Officer Inalbeth asked. Would you like a demonstration? Rodriguez offered. Before anyone could respond, the main display shifted to show activity throughout Earth's solar system. Human spacecraft were moving with purpose and coordination that exceeded anything the Council had previously witnessed. Fleet formations that should have taken months to coordinate were executing complex maneuvers in real time. Our first contact fleet is fully operational, Rodriguez explained. Each vessel is equipped with technology adapted from our analysis of galactic standards, enhanced with human engineering principles. The display zoomed in on individual ships. The designs were clearly functional rather than aesthetic, built for efficiency and durability rather than impressive appearance. But their capabilities were unmistakable. Energy signatures that matched or exceeded galactic military standards, propulsion systems that operated on principles the Council scientists didn't immediately recognize. How many vessels? Admiral Vextar asked with professional interest. Currently deployed? Approximately 300, Rodriguez replied casually. Construction continues as needed. The chamber fell silent. 300 interstellar vessels represented a fleet comparable to major galactic powers. The fact that humans had built such a force in secret suggested industrial capacity that dwarfed most Council estimates. 300 ships, Ambassador Kethvar repeated. Built without galactic assistance or technology transfer. Built with human engineering enhanced by observation of galactic principles, Rodriguez corrected. We've had 2 centuries to analyze your technology and develop our own approaches. War leader Thakmore's voice carried grudging respect. Secretary General, your species has achieved in isolation what most civilizations require millennia of Council guidance to accomplish. Thank you, War leader, Rodriguez replied. We've had excellent teachers, even if the instruction was unintentional. Admiral Vextar studied the fleet displays with professional attention. Secretary General, these vessels appear to be armed. Naturally, Rodriguez confirmed. Unarmed ships would be poorly suited for peacekeeping operations or disaster relief in hostile environments. Hostile environments? Speokir Veltar asked. Admiral Vextar can confirm that galactic civilization occasionally requires military intervention to maintain peace and stability, Rodriguez explained. As Council members, we would expect to participate in such operations. Admiral Vexundestriktar nodded slowly. Council peacekeeping operations do require member species to contribute armed forces when necessary. Human forces are prepared to meet those obligations, Rodriguez assured her. Our military doctrines emphasize rapid deployment, environmental adaptability, and mission completion regardless of local conditions. Regardless of conditions? Chief Science Officer Inalbeth asked. Rodriguez's smile took on that predatory quality again. Chief Science Officer, human military forces are trained to operate in environments ranging from Arctic wastelands to molten volcanic regions. We've never encountered a planetary environment that required us to abort a mission due to hostile conditions. The implications were staggering. Most galactic military forces required extensive environmental support for operations outside their homeworld parameters. Humans appeared capable of operating anywhere. Secretary General, Speaker Veltar said carefully, your proposal for resolving the current crisis, what specific approach do you envision? Standard diplomatic procedure, Rodriguez replied promptly. War leader Thakmore's forces are operating illegally in our system under outdated intelligence. We propose to assist them in withdrawing with dignity while establishing proper diplomatic relations between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. Assist them how? War leader Thakmor asked suspiciously. By providing face-saving justification for withdrawal, Rodriguez explained. Your forces encountered unexpected resistance from a previously unknown spacefaring civilization. Under galactic law, you must withdraw immediately. But your withdrawal demonstrates appropriate respect for galactic legal principles rather than military defeat. Thakmor considered this. You're offering to characterize our withdrawal as compliance with law rather than tactical retreat? Exactly, Rodriguez confirmed. Your forces followed proper protocol based on available intelligence. When new information revealed the presence of spacefaring civilization, you immediately ceased operations in compliance with galactic law. And in return, Admiral Vextar asked, humanity and the Zephyrian Empire established normal diplomatic relations, Rodriguez replied. Trade agreements, cultural exchange, mutual defense cooperation. Whatever relationship benefits both our species. You're proposing to turn a military confrontation into a diplomatic victory for both sides. Speaker Veltar asked with growing amazement. I'm proposing to demonstrate that humanity can resolve complex interstellar situations through diplomacy, legal compliance, and mutual respect, Rodriguez replied. Isn't that exactly what council membership requires? The chamber fell silent as delegates realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. Humans weren't just demanding membership, they were demonstrating their qualifications in real time. Admiral Vextar spoke first. Secretary General, if humanity can resolve this situation as you describe, within the 48-hour time frame you specified, the Defense Force would support your membership application. As with the Research Consortium, added Chief Science Officer Inael Beth. Your species' technological achievements merit immediate recognition. One by one, the delegates added their support. The proposal was irregular, unprecedented, and potentially dangerous. But it was also brilliant. Humanity had maneuvered the Council into a position where refusing their membership would require justifying why such capable allies should be excluded from galactic civilization. Speaker Veltar stood, her crystalline form reflecting the lights of the chamber. Secretary General Rodriguez, the Galactic Council accepts your proposal. You have 48 hours to demonstrate humanity's readiness for Council membership. Rodriguez's smile was genuinely warm for the first time in the entire transmission. Thank you, Speaker Veltar. Humanity won't disappoint you. As the transmission ended, delegates throughout the chamber realized they had just witnessed history. For better or worse, humanity was about to join galactic civilization. The only question remaining was whether the galaxy was ready for them. 26 hours after humanity's diplomatic challenge, the Galactic Council chamber was packed beyond capacity. Representatives from every major civilization had arrived to witness what many considered the most significant diplomatic event in galactic history. The air hummed with tension as delegates waited for the final reports on humanity's attempt to resolve the Sol System crisis. War leader Thakmor appeared on the main display, but his demeanor had transformed completely. Gone was the frustrated confusion that had marked his earlier transmissions. Instead, he carried himself with the bearing of someone who had just participated in something remarkable. Esteemed Council, Thakmor began, his voice carrying notes of genuine respect. I am pleased to report the successful conclusion of operations in the Sol System. All Zephyrian forces have withdrawn in full compliance with galactic law. Speaker Veltar leaned forward. War leader, please provide details of the resolution process. Thakmor's scaled features showed what might have been the equivalent of a smile. Speaker, the humans exceeded all expectations. Within 6 hours of our agreement to their diplomatic framework, they had transformed a potential military confrontation into a model of interstellar cooperation. The display shifted to show footage from the Sol System. Instead of the scattered, defensive positions that had marked the beginning of the crisis, Zephyrian and human vessels were operating in coordinated formations. Joint operations were underway across multiple orbital zones. Explain these joint operations, Admiral Vextar requested. The humans proposed what they called cooperative transition protocols, Thakmor replied. Rather than simply demanding our withdrawal, they offered to assist in salvaging resources we had already committed to the operation. Ambassador Kethvar's confusion was evident. They helped you continue harvesting their own system? Not exactly. Thakmor clarified. They identified alternative resource sources within the system that we hadn't detected: asteroid fields, cometary material, gas giant atmosphere components. Resources that could be extracted without planetary impact. Chief Science Officer Nal Beth's tentacles writhed with interest. They provided you with alternative targets? They provided us with superior targets, Thakmor corrected. Human geological analysis identified resource concentrations that our surveys had missed entirely. The alternative sources yielded 60% more raw materials than our original extraction sites. The implications rippled through the chamber. Humans had turned a defensive situation into a collaborative project that benefited both species. But the most remarkable aspect, Thakmor continued, was their approach to technology transfer. New footage appeared showing human and Zephyrian technical teams working together on equipment modifications. The cooperation was clearly genuine, with both sides contributing expertise to joint projects. The humans offered to share their equipment modifications in exchange for technical specifications on our original designs, Thakmor explained. The result was hybrid technology superior to either of our original systems. Technology transfer between military forces? Admiral Vextar asked sharply. War leader, such arrangements require council oversight, which is why the humans insisted on council observation throughout the process, Thakmor replied. They transmitted all technical specifications directly to council oversight committees in real time. Speaker Veltar accessed her communication systems, confirming receipt of comprehensive technical data from Sol System operations. All transfers appear to comply with galactic technology sharing protocols. More than comply, Chief Science Officer Nal Beth added, reviewing the incoming data. The humans have provided detailed analysis of their modification techniques, engineering principles, and design philosophies. This represents the most comprehensive voluntary technology sharing in Council records. Ambassador Yilneth spoke up. War leader, what was the Zephyrian Empire's assessment of working with human forces? Thakmor's expression became thoughtful. Remarkable. Human technical teams adapted to our equipment interfaces within hours. Their engineers identified improvement opportunities that our own specialists had missed. Their coordination protocols enhanced operational efficiency by approximately 30%. 30% improvement? Delegate Mordesh's forearms gestured in amazement. In operational efficiency? Human organizational methods are highly effective, Thakmor confirmed. They approach complex projects with systematic analysis, rapid iteration, and continuous improvement protocols. Working with them was educational. The chamber stirred as delegates absorbed this assessment. Military cooperation between species typically required extensive preparation and careful cultural accommodation. Humans had apparently made the process seamless. War leader, Speaker Veltar inquired, what is the current status of human-Zephyrian relations? Thakmor's expression brightened perceptibly. The Empire has extended a formal invitation for diplomatic exchange with Earth. We're proposing cultural missions, scientific collaboration, and preliminary trade agreements. Trade agreements? Ambassador Yilneth asked with obvious interest. Human manufacturing techniques produce remarkably efficient results with minimal resource input, Thakmor explained. Their environmental adaptation technologies could benefit Zephyrian colonial operations significantly. In return, we can offer access to galactic transportation networks and establish trade relationships. The display shifted to show the current state of the Sol system. Human and Zephyrian vessels were operating in clearly cooperative formations, with joint operations proceeding smoothly across multiple locations. The humans have also offered to host a permanent Zephyrian trade mission on one of their outer planets, Thakmor added. They've identified a world with environmental conditions similar to Zephyrian homeworld parameters. They're offering territory for foreign settlements. Ambassador Kethvar asked in amazement. They're offering partnership opportunities, Thakmor corrected. Joint settlements where both species can contribute their strengths to mutual benefit. A new transmission signal interrupted the proceedings. Secretary General Rodriguez appeared on a secondary display, her diplomatic bearing even more polished than during her previous appearances. Greetings, Council members, Rodriguez began. I hope War Leader Thakmor's report has been satisfactory. More than satisfactory, Speaker Veltar replied. Secretary General, the Council is impressed by humanity's approach to crisis resolution. Thank you, Speaker, Rodriguez replied. But I wanted to address a broader point. Our interaction with the Zephyrian Empire has revealed significant opportunities for expanding this cooperative model. Explain, Admiral Vextar Rekisted. Rodriguez gestured, and her transmission expanded to show comprehensive data about galactic civilization from a human perspective. Trade flow analysis, resource distribution patterns, technological development opportunities, all mapped with startling accuracy. 2 centuries of observation have given us detailed understanding of galactic civilization's strengths and challenges, Rodriguez explained. We've identified multiple opportunities where human capabilities could address existing problems. Examples appeared on the display. Worlds with hostile environments that human colonization techniques could make habitable, resource extraction operations that human engineering could make more efficient, technological bottlenecks that human innovation approaches could resolve. You're proposing systematic cooperation with multiple council members? Chief Science Officer Nal Beth asked. We're proposing active participation in galactic civilization, Rodriguez clarified. Humans excel at problem-solving, adaptation, and collaboration under pressure. These skills appear to be exactly what the galaxy needs. New data streams showed specific proposals, human assistance with dangerous colonization projects, joint research into extreme environment technologies, collaborative development of improved industrial processes. Secretary General, Delegate Mordesh inquired. These proposals would require extensive human involvement in galactic affairs. Rodriguez smiled. Delegate, that's exactly what we're hoping for. Humanity has been isolated from galactic civilization for far too long. We're eager to contribute. Speaker Veltar stood, her crystalline form reflecting the chamber's lights. Secretary General Rodriguez, based on humanity's demonstration of diplomatic capability, technological contribution, and cooperative spirit, the Galactic Council is prepared to render its decision on your membership application. The chamber fell completely silent. This moment would reshape galactic civilization regardless of the outcome. The Council finds that humanity has demonstrated exceptional qualifications for immediate membership with full privileges and responsibilities, Speaker Veltar announced. Welcome to galactic civilization. Applause erupted throughout the chamber. Not the polite acknowledgement typical of diplomatic proceedings, but genuine enthusiasm from delegates who recognized they had witnessed something unprecedented. Rodriguez's smile was radiant. Thank you, Speaker Veltar. Humanity is honored to join the galactic community. Secretary General Admiral Vextar spoke over the continuing applause. As a new council member, humanity will be expected to participate in peacekeeping operations, disaster relief efforts, and exploration missions. Are your forces prepared for such responsibilities? Admiral, human forces are eager to contribute to galactic security and stability, Rodriguez replied. We've prepared preliminary deployment plans for integration with existing council operations. War Leader Thakmor's image shifted to prominence. Admiral, based on my observations, human forces would significantly enhance council military capabilities. I recommend immediate integration into peacekeeping rotations. Chief Science Officer Nal_Beth added her support. The Research Consortium formally requests human participation in extreme environment research projects. Their adaptation capabilities could advance our understanding significantly. One by one, Council members added their endorsement of human participation in galactic affairs. The species that had been dismissed as primitives just days earlier was now being actively recruited for the galaxy's most challenging missions. There is one final matter, Speaker Veltar announced. As a new council member, Earth requires formal planetary designation and protection status. The display showed Earth's updated classification, Level 8 Hellworld, inhabited by spacefaring civilization, designated as sovereign territory of the Galactic Council member state of humanity. Let the record show, Speaker Veltar declared, that Sol 3, commonly known as Earth, is hereby recognized as the homeworld of humanity, a full member species of the Galactic Council. All rights and protections accorded to Council member homeworlds are hereby extended to Earth and its solar system. The implications were profound. Earth had transformed from an ignored backwater to a protected Council world in less than 48 hours. Rodriguez's diplomatic mask slipped slightly, revealing genuine emotion. Speaker Veltar, on behalf of all humanity, I thank the Council for this recognition. We look forward to contributing to galactic civilization for millennia to come. As the formal session concluded and delegates began networking with humanity's representative, a new reality was taking shape. The galaxy had gained not just a new member species, but a new kind of member, one that had arrived as equals rather than supplicants. Ambassador Kethvar approached Admiral Vextar as the chamber began to empty. Admiral, are we prepared for the implications of humanity's membership? Vextar's massive form skiftet fully. Ambassador, I believe the better question is whether the galaxy's challenges are prepared for humanity's solutions. 3 months later, human peacekeeping forces were operating in 12 systems simultaneously. Human colonies were being established on worlds previously considered uninhabitable. Human technology was revolutionizing industrial processes across dozens of civilizations. The species that had evolved on a Level 8 Hell world had brought their survival mentality to galactic civilization. Problems that had persisted for centuries were being solved with startling efficiency by beings who saw extreme challenges as normal Tuesday afternoon projects. The Galactic Council had gained exactly what they hadn't known they needed: partners who considered the impossible merely inconvenient. Humanity had finally found their place in the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same.